bombshell report tonight about how Elizabeth Warren, Senator Elizabeth Warren, and her office coordinated testimony with the Security and Exchange Commission ahead of a Senate hearing. The Heritage Foundation Oversight Project, of which I'm associated, through a FOIA request, obtained emails from Warren's office to the office of Chairman Gary Gensler 2 days before his Senate testimony back in September of 2021. The email from Warren's economic policy advisor includes a list of questions. Get this, a list of questions that Senator Warren planned to ask, along with suggested answers for the chairman of the SEC. The advisor also wrote, quote, "Let me know if you're okay with the questions as currently written." 2 days later, she sent a follow-up, quote, "Let me know if it's looking like the chair has any issue with the framing of the questions. Definitely don't want to put him in a tough spot," end quote. And it appears the chairman didn't have any issue with these questions because Senator Warren asked almost verbatim from the email. Check this out.
Chair Gensler, advocates say crypto markets are all about financial inclusion, but the people who are most economically vulnerable are the ones who are most likely to have to withdraw their money the fastest when the market drops. Does this sound like the path to financial inclusion to you?
What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. Thank you for joining me.
Bombshell
I wanted to lead with that clip of Elizabeth Warren, and I want to talk about a few headlines regarding her, some crazy stuff regarding the BRICS nations, some global macro financial events, and then just talking about some negative stuff in the crypto markets. As always, I give away $10 in XRP every day on the channel. The winner from yesterday's in the video description below. To enter the giveaway today, like the video, subscribe with notifications on, and comment anything in the YouTube comments below. So you heard that here first. Elizabeth Warren and her scripted plot to control crypto. This came out from the Heritage Foundation. So in this leak from the Heritage Foundation, they have an email from Elizabeth Warren and Gary Gensler's executive assistant. Elizabeth Warren says, "Thank you. Let me see if we can squeeze in something about this being speculation versus stable store value, and let me know if it's looking like the chair, Gary Gensler, has any issues with the framing of the questions. I definitely do not want to put him in a tough spot." Does this sound like how a regulator should be talking to someone that they're investigating, that they're looking over? This sounds like a friendship. If anything, she looks like the inferior and Gary Gensler looks like the superior. She's asking, how can I frame the question to be the nicest question for Gary Gensler? I don't want to put him in a tough spot. And they say, blah, blah, thank you, continue on. And then in the clip, you saw Elizabeth Warren ask the question literally word for word from the email. And this is how a lot of politics works. This is how a lot of these interviews work. This is how the presidential debates work. These questions are fed to the politicians ahead of time, and people think the politicians are answering genuinely, and it's always just a lot of prepared answers. And this is a crazy story, guys. Massive fire destroys commercial egg farm belonging to the top U.S. supplier. If you've seen the price of eggs, I'm not sure about y'all's countries, but in the USA, the price of eggs has gone through the roof. This is the 22nd food production plant that we've seen burned down in 2022, 2023. And with the money printing of the past 2 years, we've seen regular goods like bread, poultry, eggs, dairy go through the roof. And you got to ask yourself, as these prices of foods are going through the roof, what a interesting coincidence that we're having all these food production plants burning down. And almost more interesting, with food prices being so high, you think food production plants burning down, which is a huge supply shock to the food market, this might be a news story, right? Wrong. No one's talking about this, but it just goes to show, guys, times are changing, and whether a global reset is happening organically or by design, this is just evidence that stuff is going on. And in this past year, guys, we've seen 3AC, Three Arrows Capital, a big hedge fund, Mt. Gox, Nexo, Gemini, BlockFi, a list of all the crypto companies that have gone down. And what does Elizabeth Warren have to say about this? She says that the SEC has made a good start in the past 2 years by keeping crypto volatility out of the traditional banking system and preventing Bitcoin exchange traded funds. Elizabeth Warren, if the SEC has done a good start, what do you say about all these companies that have lost investor funds? And this is the best example if you guys have never had a cold storage wallet, if you store your crypto on an exchange like Coinbase or Binance, get a Ledger wallet from the Ledger website. Don't buy it off Amazon. There's scammers on there. You can buy faked, rigged ones. Yeah, that might be $100, might be $200. I have one of each of these. But even if you have $500 of crypto, keep in mind $1 of Bitcoin in 2010 was $7 million at the top last year. So your $500 might be $1 million in the future. No guarantees, but you never know in this asset class. So if you don't have one of these, it's the most secure way to store your crypto. Check out their store in the video description below. And not to spread FUD, guys, but Silverbank Capital, the largest bank in all of crypto, is down 98% this year. Silvergate is a bank that came out of nowhere in the past 2 years, but surged and was able to garner tons of deposits because they accepted money from crypto companies, digital asset companies, blockchain companies. In the past month, Silvergate Capital has experienced a jaw-dropping $8 billion in withdrawals. And this guy points out, what do you think happens when Silvergate hits zero, when this bank run ends, when all of the money has been taken out of Silvergate? There's not a lot of banks that take crypto company assets, digital assets, and Silvergate Capital is definitely something you're going to want to keep an eye on. And some big news from the BRICS nations. The Egyptian parliament has approved the agreement to join the BRICS banks, okay? BRICS being Brazil, Russia, India, China. And these are going to be the future economic powers besides the US dollar. The US dollar has had a good run, but the BRICS nations are slowly going to start to take some of that global trade, some of that market share away from the US dollar. Right here, we have another development for these BRICS nations. Russia and Iran are integrating their banking systems in order to get around being banned from SWIFT. The new communication system forged by Iran and Russia will connect roughly 700 Russian banks and 100 foreign banks from 13 other countries. Okay, so this is just the beginning of the downfall of SWIFT and the turn towards something more globally friendly. The US dollar is great for the US, but it sucks for every other country that's tied to that world reserve currency. And the BRICS nations especially, they don't like being tied to the US dollar, and we're seeing that as they start to accept trade in other currencies. We saw Saudi Arabia in the past month for the first time in decades accepting other currencies for their oil. The only thing backing the US dollar is oil. That's why they call it the petrodollar. And for Saudi Arabia to start accepting trade in other currencies, especially for oil, that's a big thing that should be eye-opening. And this is just another story to back that up. And if you guys need an exchange to buy XRP, Uphold is in the video description below. It's a great exchange. It's very easy, and it's my chosen exchange to buy XRP and other digital assets. And now for a clip from Gary Gensler.
Fintech has gotten into payments. Startups have gotten into payments. We all know the story of China, that Alipay and WeChat Pay are dominant in the payment system. And yes, the central bank, the People's Bank of China, had to get their arms around it. And in Africa, in Kenya, Safaricom, a telephone company, got into the payment space. Now, what does this all mean to Facebook? Facebook has watched this and said, we want in as well. We want to do what Alipay or WeChat Pay or even any of these startups are doing in this space, because if you can get into payments, you can maybe get into credit. And if you get into payments and credit, you can start to make some of the profits that the financial sector has made. Fintech has gotten into payments.
Sorry, I was muted. You know what was on the presentation slide for that little talk Gary Gensler just did? Fintech payments and Ripple. Right there, Ripple is on that slide right there. And he's telling you why these fintech companies are trying to get into this space. And do you think these traditional players who already have the power in this space want these innovative companies to break through? Of course not. And not much is free at all in the world, let alone money. But you guys can get $40 guaranteed. If you sign up with Webull, deposit a penny, you can get up to $3,000 in free stock shares for free. You're guaranteed a minimum value of $40 for signing up and depositing a penny, but you could get up to $3,000. Sell the stocks, close your account, buy more XRP, do whatever you want, but don't miss out on this great offer. Just sign up, deposit a penny, get your $40 guaranteed. Links in the video description below. And as always, if you guys do use Twitter, give me a tweet. I tweet a lot of crypto information. It's not in my videos. Drippy XRP, links in the video description below. God bless you guys. Until next time.